Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Trend Report. I'm glad you're here today for what I know is going to be a really interesting conversation that hopefully is going to help you as we talk with our guest today, Kristen Jones. Hey, Kristen, how are you?
Morning, Sid. I'm happy to be here. How are
Well, man,
you?
I appreciate it very much so. So I want you to please introduce yourself, tell our community who you are and what you do.
Christian Jones. I am an independent rep, about 14 different furniture lines, a new textile line as of yesterday in the San Francisco Bay Area out here in California.
Okay. Do you mind sharing who you work with? Who you work for? Sorry.
I work for Linked Reps, and we have Unica Vev, Stylex, Neon Camper, Claridge, 9 to 5, ERG, Safeco. I know I'm forgetting some, so I
Scandinavian
apologize. Krug,
Spaces.
Scandinavian Spaces. Yeah, I know it's kind of, I should go alphabetical, but you kind of jumble them around
Yeah,
sometimes.
no worries. So, Kristen, how long have you been in the business?
I've been in the business about 4 years officially, but my previous profession, I had an off season where I was working for about 6 to 7 months, and then I'd come home for about 5 to 6 months, and I was kind of working for the team, building binders, doing brochures, getting finished samples. So I've kind of been introduced to the industry for about 4 years prior to that, I would say. So it's been about 4 years officially and 8 years kind of unofficial.
Okay, so I'm always curious about this, but what made you say yes to coming to work in the furniture business?
Well, that's a good question. I was kind of roped in, but it was done appropriately, I would say. So my boss is my dad,
Okay.
and he and his father were both independent reps for furniture for, I mean, he's been doing it, I want to say about 25, 30 years, but he did it the right way where he's like, hey, we have a role that you can fill and we need to have filled for the company. But, if it's not right for you, don't do it. So actually, I interviewed with a couple of real estate companies, pharmaceutical sales, recycling company. And I realized that I didn't know if anything was going to be absolutely perfect until I actually started doing something. So I'm like, you know what? Nothing's sweeping me off my feet. Let's do this. Let's get into it. And I had already had a backstory with the company, with my dad. I know he's going to be a good role model, mentor. So that was kind of how I got roped in. Family business, and it's got its perks.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's really nice to see second generations come into the business and to keep the legacy going of what your grandfather and your father have built over the many, many years. So, independent rep, you're the first independent rep I've actually had on the show. So I'm really glad that you're
All right.
here. I appreciate you joining because I really like to bring different perspectives from all aspects of our industry. So anxious to hear your perspective on a lot of different things. But what exactly is your role at the independent rep group? What do you do?
So I kind of wear a decent amount of hats. So I am basically the A&B liaison. So I go to all A&B firms and I present our products, our new products, our best sellers. I also run our social media account for Linked Reps on Instagram. Go check us out. And then I do not necessarily our LinkedIn page, because we don't have a Linked Reps LinkedIn page, but I run mine, which is basically the company's. I also work in both of the showrooms, kind of curating them for the design community and also like the dealer community, showing what products will fit for both sides. So that's kind of what I do. It's a little bit of everything, but we're a smaller firm. We're actually a larger firm for independent reps. We have 8, so we kind of try to help each other out in all aspects of the business.
Yeah, so I think I should talk to your dad. I don't think you have enough things to do, and I probably got some more things that I could give him to put on your list of things for you to
Always
do.
want more to do. Always
That's
want
great.
more.
That's great. So, our conversation today is about creative sales strategies. And from an independent rep perspective, about some of the things that you've been doing to reach influencers as well as your dealers and end users. But before we dive into that, I'd really like to chat for just a minute about some of the challenges that you're encountering as an independent rep, and then we can talk about some of the solutions. Is that okay?
Yeah, happy to.
So what do you think right now is the biggest challenge that you're facing?
I I would say the biggest challenge, and this is all predicated on, my area in California, which is probably different
Sure.
than a lot of areas throughout the country. I'd say the biggest challenge is getting to see and connect with designers in the industry. It's so much harder now with COVID. In they're all the designers are on Zoom meetings all day, every day, and Zoom fatigue is a real thing. In the very beginning of COVID, it was a quick pivot to, hey, let's do something virtually, and everybody was like, yeah, it's a great idea. Let's do that. It's not going to be. I would always preface it like, hey, this is not going to be your normal presentation. You can't touch, you can't feel the furniture, you can't see if it's comfortable, but we're doing best we can
Mhm.
with our circumstances. And we can't now. It's not necessarily as entertaining, as fun, as engaging before, for what it was previously. Now it's a little more challenging, and Zoom fatigue is a real deal. And designers are on calls all day, every single day, maybe 15, 20 calls. And to get on another call for something that they don't actually specifically know they need,
Mhm.
it's tough to do.
Yeah, we do spend a lot of time on technology, on our phones, in front of our computers, on Zoom. We're on Zoom right now, but it's been a bit of a blessing and a curse all at the same time, because it has allowed us the ability to connect in ways that maybe we wouldn't have been able to connect a few years ago. But from the other side of it, we're on it all the time. And so it does create some fatigue and like, "Oh, another Zoom call or another Teams call." And, some people have their cameras on, some people don't have their cameras on. So it creates its own set of challenges when doing it. But, and to the same degree, I think, and I've said this quite a bit for those of you that listen on a regular basis, I believe that the hybrid workplace is both one of the greatest opportunities for our industry, but also one of the greatest challenges for our industry. Opportunity wise, we get to furnish new spaces. We get to take current spaces and redo them in order to accommodate the hybrid work and create communities and common spaces. And there's a lot of good stuff that gets to happen there. And you see all the brands talking about it. But by the same token, our customers aren't in the office. They're working from home like you and I are right now. The designers, our influencers are not in the office. Some of them may be, some of them may not be. So getting to those people becomes even harder from a business development perspective. So let's pivot for just a quick second. And what kind of challenges are you having with, if any, with connecting with the dealer community?
The dealer community they're a little more open, because they they want to hear from us, because we are connected to the design community as well. So when I say open, their doors aren't open. We can't go in and see them, but they're a little more receiving of information, because they want to have as much information going to end users to going to designers themselves. And we have our finger on the pulse of that, where it's like, hey, we will go to these design firms, we'll present our products, we will show them maybe 30 to 40 products in a presentation period of time.
Mhm.
And we make notes on, okay, this has got a positive feedback, this is what they like, this is what they perked up at, this is something that just had zero response to it, let's not show it again.
Sure.
And we can take all that information and compile it into a presentation to the dealers. And they're like, oh, this is what the design community is liking. This is what they're
Mhm.
gravitating towards. So the dealer can put their information together, but then also add our data into it to make a more collective presentation to their end users, saying, hey, this is what designers are looking for. This is what the new work environment is going to gear towards. And we have those products that can provide that for you and for your space. So the dealers are a little more open to hearing from us, because we have a good connection with the design
Sure.
community.
Yeah, so you also have had relationships with those dealers prior to the lockdown. And just for a reference point to anybody listening, we are recording this the first week of September, right before Labor Day, is when we're recording this. It'll go live in a couple of weeks. But to give you a perspective, because California is still in more restrictions than are in other places like where I live in Texas. And so the world's in a little bit of a flux as it relates to the availability to go into places And even if you do, in your case, if you do get to go in live in person, you're likely wearing a mask and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the only live that we get to do is if somebody wants to come to our showroom, and then it's usually a one-on-one. Maybe I think the most I've had has been three, no, four people come in at one time.
Sure.
And it's
Sure.
still, when you're in an open work environment like our showroom is, it's not as crowded. People feel safe. The door's shut behind them. People aren't going to come in and out. It's a controlled environment.
Mhm.
But yeah, a lot of the other design firms, a lot of the dealers will have 2 to 3 people in per day, and that's normally based on their team.
Mhm.
Coming in, like, hey, we need to pick finishes. We need to show the client the layouts. We need to show them the furniture that we're going to present. We need to show them the lighting, the walls, every type of thing. But they
Sure.
need to have them in person to see and touch and feel everything all in front of them, so they don't like get a package one day and saying, okay, what room is this going for? They get a package of finishes another day saying, okay, this is
Right.
floor 2, conference room B. It's a lot more challenging, a lot more hoops to jump through, so that each individual each individual unit along the way has the same finish palette, have the same understanding.
Yep.
So having them all come in at one time for an hour or 2 hours, getting everything done and have everybody leaving again is monumental. But it only
Yeah.
happens on a team by team basis. So
Which
one of
is
our,
gotta that's gotta
yeah, go
make it
ahead.
really, really difficult when you're trying to do your job. And, and for anybody, whether you're an independent rep or a dealer, when we're trying to call on an influencer community like the A&D community, that specify and have the power to specify a lot of products, it makes our jobs even more challenging. But there's a whole nother level to this that creates even more challenge. And I'd like for you to share your experience about some of the additional challenges you've had with the A&D community. One of the things you said in our pre-call was the length of time you're being given to present. Can you talk about that for a minute?
Yeah. So it's good and bad, because the type of presentations that we are, I would say about 60% of the time, limited to here in San Francisco Bay Area is a vendor call with 3 different reps on it. They could be independent or direct reps.
Could be a
And it's
carpet rep or it
exactly,
doesn't
it's a
matter. Tile rep,
combination,
whatever. Yeah.
non-competing
Mhm.
independent rep. So we'll have a textile, a flooring, a lighting, a furniture, any kind of a combination of those 3 together. And it's good because a designer could come on looking because they're like, oh, I really want to see Shaw and I really want to see their flooring. And then I get to present furniture and like, oh, I was brought on because of the flooring, but now I can kind of see furniture as well. And I didn't really realize that.
Mhm.
But it's also kind of tough because you get about 8 minutes to present. There's it starts, let's say, at 10 a.m. and then you get like a 2 to 3 minute, hey, everybody, is everybody on? Let's do some technical checks. Let's make sure everybody's here. Say hello. And then we'll start. And then each rep gets about anywhere from 7 to 9 minutes. And then it goes to the next one. And then it goes to the next one. And there's 3 of us. And then the last 3 minutes is questions and you do a raffle, basically thanking the designers for attending. And it's tough because with a 30-minute presentation, you can talk about 30 to 50 products and you can talk at a normal pace. You can actually spend time and dive into each product. You can show more than one photo of that product. Now, when you got 8 minutes, you're talking like your head's chopped off. You're going as fast as you can. You fumble over things because you're just trying to go as fast as you can. It's possible you want to cover as many as you can. See, I'm already starting to get like in the mode and I'm going
I
faster.
see that. Yeah.
But so it's tough because if somebody had a question about a specific product, you skip right past it because you're trying to show everything, and it's not as intimate of a conversation. It's not like actually connecting with one another. It's just breezing over as many things as you can as quickly as you can, and it's tough right now to do that. But I can see the positives in it where you get more people to attend because there's a larger array of products shown, not just furniture, flooring, textiles, lighting.
Yep.
So it's
But I'm going to
got its
actually
ups and
say
downs.
that I don't think this challenge is new. Okay. I think the challenge has been heightened. The awareness of it has been heightened because I think it was in 2019 or maybe early 2020 before the lockdown happened. I got a call from a rep about this very issue. She's a dealer rep and she's like, I'm so excited. I've been working really hard to have this presentation scheduled and I got it. And then I realized when it showed up on my calendar that it was only 15 minutes. She's asked me like, what do I do in 15 minutes? I actually ended up writing a column for this for the Business of Furniture magazine because I write for them almost every other week. And so we'll drop the link to that column. It's called 15 Minutes of Fame. We'll drop the
Nice.
link there for you because it talks about what we need is a strategy. When we know that we're going into, and it appears to, because I've heard it on other people's podcasts as well, and I've heard other reps talk about it, this is becoming the new normal that you're getting 15 minutes. And we have to be prepared to be able to present in 15 minutes. Now, the flip side of me, the guy that's been in the industry for way too many years, is going to tell you that there's absolutely no way that we can communicate who we are, what we do, and the products that we sell to a very important community in 15 minutes. We just can't.
It provides a whole different set of challenges. I've done it many times where I get on the presentation, I'm like, oh, okay, I have 15 minutes, and I look through my slide deck and I'm just like, okay, delete, 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 delete. Okay, scroll down, delete, delete, scroll down, delete, delete. And I go from like 35 slides to like 18.
Yep.
And that's it. It's a dagger. You're like, oh man, I really wanted to show this product, but it's going to take me a minute and a half to describe it. And it cuts out 2 other products that I could show. So you have to it's a balancing act that you have to figure out.
Absolutely. 100%. So let's talk for the next few minutes a little bit about, the challenge is real. Everybody is experiencing. The person that reached out to me, she's in a small, what I would call a B or C level market, not in a major market. She's in a small market. And, so the challenge is out there. We're all experiencing it. Those of us that are actually out selling to this important community. So there's one more thing that happened that I would like for you to share because I want to talk about the impact of this for just a minute, and then we'll jump into some of the strategies that you've used to overcome some of this. You know what I'm talking about?
I think I do, but if you can set it up for me, then I'll make sure.
The Zoom schedules that you had, the calls you had scheduled.
Yeah. There were a few calls that I had that I think it was about 3 now, where I've got them scheduled for, I want to say about 45, maybe a month and a half out. And no one actually attended. And, I stayed on for 15 minutes just in case, because on a normal Zoom call, if you've got 5 or 6 people attending, somebody might jump in at minute 15 or minute 10, just because they were finishing up a call before, or, getting something to eat, whatever it might be, working from home, or, took their kid out, or, they had to let their dog out to go to the bathroom, something like that. So, but I stayed on for 15 minutes and no one got to loop into the phone call. So it was kind of tough because it wasn't like a presentation that was scheduled, a week in advance, and you're like kind of on a whim. It was, man, I've been wanting to talk to you guys for a month and a half now, and no one got to arrive. But
so I want to recap this for just a minute, right? You do your job, you reach out to the design firms, you want to schedule, they agree. And typical schedules with design firms take time to get there. I've heard some people say that it takes more than 6 months to actually get on the calendar. So you're on the calendar, you schedule it, you're prepping for it, you're doing things, whether you're sending coffee to them or gift cards or whatever, you've got everything ready. You're prepped to do a virtual presentation at 3 firms, and not a single person out of all 3 of those calls shows up. And so you wait 15 minutes, which is, by the way, what I wait when I have a client schedule a call with me is 15 minutes. If they don't show up in 15 minutes, I'm moving on with my day. So I think that's a great strategy to stop at 15 minutes, because otherwise you're just wasting an hour sitting there, 30 minutes, whatever it is, sitting there. Tell me what that did to you. Tell me how that made you feel. And then we're going to dive into the, because I think this is important, Christian, that people need to understand how it affects us. When we schedule with you, you agree, and then you don't show up. How'd that make you feel?
It made me feel inadequate.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably the easiest way to sum it up. It made me feel inadequate at my role at Linked Reps. It made me second guess my connections with the design community. It made me, I think those are the 2 biggest things, but you understand, and you don't hold it against people at all. Like everybody's got Zoom calls. Everybody's running 1,000 miles in a row right now. Everything's getting jump started back up in the design community. So they're like, I mean, I'll also try to send a designer a text throughout the day, and they'll respond like 5 hours later. It's like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm so swamped, and they truly are, and you understand it. But yeah, when it happens, when you're kind of looking forward to it for, I would say you're looking forward to it for a week, even though it's been on the calendar for a month and a half. You're like, you don't think about it until it gets closer. But then when it happens and no one can actually attend, you do kind of question, your qualifications and your, kind of your efficiency and pretty much everything. You're just like, this doesn't feel right.
So you are not alone, my friend, because I talk to reps, whether they're dealer or independent reps, regardless of what they're selling, that this happens to on a far too frequent basis. And so I know there are people listening to this that are going, that happened to me. I experienced that same thing. The thing that I would like to say to any community, whether it's the A&D community, the IFMA community, whoever it is, that we're trying to do our job by showcasing products that they need, because they need our products. They need our products to design spaces and to complete the space. Furniture is an important component of completing the space. I would just say, think about it for just a second if the tables were reversed. And if it was you trying to make a presentation to a group of your ideal customers or somebody you wanted to work with, and you did all this work and you did all this prep, and you show up on Zoom and nobody shows up. Think about how that makes you feel, because that's exactly how we feel when we're trying to do our jobs, regardless of what we're selling, when you don't show up. So, and we don't have to belabor. Listen, I could talk about this aspect for a long time, but go ahead.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think it's a little harsh to say it directly like that, but I see what you're getting at. And the only reason why I say it's a little harsh is because as an independent rep or as reps, our schedules are a little more in flux. We can move things around a little bit more. For the designer or dealer community, it's a little more rigid. So if they have to miss a phone call because something's more important, like they're talking with an end user, they're making an end user presentation, they're trying to win a bid, that is more important than a rep phone call that may or may not waste their time. To be completely honest, like I would love for them to love and fall in love with Claridge, Stylix, Scandinavian Space, Neon Camper, everything that I'm going to show them on a presentation. But at the end of it, like we don't know if anything I show is going to resonate, or if anything I show they're going to ever care about or use. So in their mind, I completely understand if, like, I can't make this phone call. No one wants to miss a phone call. No one wants to leave somebody, on the other side wondering why. But the priority is their specific priority. Number one is their client, their end user, and you understand it. So I would say I would hope that people would be able to attend and feel for the reps that are trying to do everything that they can. But I also understand that it's a whole other set of challenges these days. Because if you come in person and you've got furniture there, you've got flooring there, and they can see it, they can step on it, they can sit on it, they can kick it, whatever they want to do. It's very, very different than seeing something. I kind of show you a chair here, and I promise you it's comfortable. It's just it's not the same. It's very different. So it's got a whole different set of challenges.
So I appreciate that perspective, and I think it is a great value add to this conversation, which is exactly what we do here on the Trend Report, is have conversations. And so I really, really appreciate you sharing from that perspective. I have one last question on this, and then we're going to go to some of the creative things you did, because you got some really cool things you did. After all this happened, and 3 in a row where people did not attend, did any of those firms follow back up with you?
Yes, every single firm followed back up, and they were very apologetic. They were very understanding. They were really like wanting to help. They wanted to see what I wanted to present. It was almost in a weird way better, because they they realized that they had kind of let me down, and they wanted to be there for the presentation, but for whatever reason they couldn't. You
Sure.
know, they were on a presentation, they were on a call that ran long, whatever happened. And so they're like, please send us over any information. And I basically like, I'm sorry that I missed you guys. Here's the link to the presentation. Here's what I was going to show you. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If you like any products, please send any feedback.
Mhm.
And they do afterwards. And so you can't hold it against them at all. They
Sure.
want to be there, but for some reason they couldn't. And at least they kind of got back and apologized, and they felt bad. And so they did reach back out.
So something good came out of something bad, which I really appreciate. Now,
Yes.
let's
Yes.
pivot it because we only have a few minutes left. So let's pivot for a couple of minutes because I could talk about these challenges a lot, because I think there's a lot of them very similar to this, that we need to be figuring out creative ways to solve these problems, because the challenges are problems. So what are a couple of things that you've done to actually really try to connect with this community that were creative and unusual? So tell us.
I mean, there are a decent amount of things that we've tried. Some of them have failed. Some of them have been great successes. Some are kind of in the middle. I'd say
You're trying, Christian, which is half the battle. You are trying different things.
Thank
You're
you.
learning from what's not working. You're pivoting and making changes. Those are all great things, because I personally don't believe there's any such thing as failure. You either get the result you wanted or you get the lesson that you needed. And it sounds like you're listening to those lessons and you're pivoting and making different and better, hopefully better decisions. So keep going.
Yeah. Yes. That's a great way of looking at it. So the first thing that we did when the pandemic kind of started, California got shut down super quick and for the longest time. So we pivoted to doing Instagram videos under a minute, because I think up to that point you couldn't go over a minute before it would go to IGTV, and then it's just a whole other list of things that you got to do. So we'd take a chair, we'd take a table, we'd take a whiteboard, any kind of product that came out during the pandemic that was new. Like, hey, take a look at this chair. It comes with this base. It comes with these upholstery options. It comes with these colors. And we'd kind of sit in it. We'd hold it up. We'd turn it around so you kind of see all of the different angles of the aesthetic of the chair. And that was great in the very beginning. People really liked that. And it was very challenging to do and create. I am not an actor. None of our teammates are actors, so we mess up many, many times. But one of the fun things that actually comes from messing up is I kept all of those fumbles, those bloopers, and I put a blooper reel together, and then we posted that about every, I think we posted 3 of them, and we posted 2 just thank you for watching these videos. Right. And it was really entertaining to see, hey, this is so great. Thank you for showing this product. We've wanted to see it, but we can't in person. And then showing the blooper reels and showing you how many times you mess up trying to say the same word. I couldn't say dual wire frames. I still tried, like almost messed it up. Dual wire frame. I remember the exact video. I messed up about 10 times. I showed 3 of the clips on the blooper reel. And I would have bet a lot of people chuckled at me trying to say that phrase.
Blooper reels actually they're fun because we get to laugh.
They're candid. They're real.
Yeah, they're absolutely real. And it creates a little bit of a know, like, and trust factor, because they actually get to see the behind the scenes and what's really happening as you're fumbling over words. So
yeah, and you can see the giggle of it. You can see the frustration. You can see God, come on, just say the word right. And hey,
there's no better fun than poking fun at yourself. I do it all the time when I mess up. I just like, okay, here we go. Let's make fun of me at this moment. So did you take those? This is a curiosity question. Did you take those IG videos and did you put them on YouTube?
No, they're on our Instagram page under Link Reps. We haven't gotten to build a library yet. We might do that and kind of upload videos as we go. Sure. But as it's started to open up a little bit, we've been able to show more product to people in person a little bit here and there. So we might continue it. But that was the first one we did. And then we've, everyone does the email blasts, and, how do you make that not as mundane? How do you make it eye-catching? And we did some brand recognition. We tried to curate specific colors that would be a little more eye-catching, pictures that are environmental, not just of a white backdrop. of a chair or a table or a whiteboard, something that provides an actual environment. And instead of showing 10 conference tables, so you're showing the same product for the same solution, we wanted to show a curated, holistic view of an environment. So we showed a lobby area, and then we showed the sofa that you could go in. And you say, hey, if you don't like this sofa, you can choose this sofa. If you don't like this table, here's this table. If you don't like this chair, here's this chair. So you can kind of create a one-stop shop for everything that Link Reps represented. And that was brought to us by communicating with a designer in San Francisco. Like I mentioned to her, like, hey, this is what I'm doing. She's like, hey, try to do this, because people aren't looking for 10 different conference tables. They're looking for one conference table, and they need chairs, they need a whiteboard, they need a sofa seating section in it. And I'm like, you know, that makes so much more sense. We can show an entire solution instead of one solution with 10 different options.
Sure.
So that was a great conversation with the designer, and she knows who she is if she listens to this. So thank you. And then probably the best thing that we did, the most success, was we created a dinner, a 3 different dinner solution. So I'm lucky enough to be dating an organic farmer, registered dietitian, kind of does all of that. And she's opened my world to, I want to say, like 50 different foods and vegetables and produce options that I didn't even know really existed or had ever tried. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when you're a rep, you want to do something that is creative, but also unique and stands apart. You want to be recognized for that and thought of as, oh, you did this. So we created this little cardboard box, and it's made of recycled content. We put all of our manufacturers' logos on it. We put our logo on the front.
Okay, so I'm going to interrupt you just a quick second, because this is a great story. So Krista just held up a box. Those of you that are listening, you can actually go over to YouTube if you want to see the box itself, to the Trend Report channel on YouTube, and you can actually see him demoing this box. But you got a custom recycled box. You put your logo on it, and then all your brand manufacturer logos on the box as well.
We put our brand manufacturer logos on the front, on the side, on the back, everywhere. So it was kind of like, hey, this is linked, and this is everyone we represent. And then on the inside of it, we put fresh produce, fresh, organic, locally grown produce that was specific for 3 different meals. And I'm going to mess up these names, but I'm going to try to remember the title of the meals. It was honey nut squash soup. There was zucchini noodles with cherry tomatoes. And then it was an herb potato and roasted veggie medley. Man, I actually got it. All right, great. So we did 3 different meals. And what I did was I created a 1-page flyer and said, hey, this is what we're doing. We're doing a dinner on Links. All you need to do is tell me which meal you want and where you want it delivered. And that was it. And so I sent it out to all of the designers and architects in the community. And I was like, hey, this is what we're doing. It's awesome. You don't need to do anything. You don't have to pay for anything. We've created the dinner. We've created a flyer that had instructions, that had photos of the beginning, middle, and after of the dinner, so you can kind of see if you're doing it
step-by-step process. You give them the
you can see if you're doing it right. If you're like, oh, did I mess chopping these the wrong way? Did I not do this right? All in the box. We also put a little giveaway from one of our manufacturers who created like a little whiteboard from Claridge and put it in there, and it had our logo etched into a wood backer so that you could prop it up as a little note board. On that brochure of the instructions, we did have a few products on there, you know, because you do have to show some product. You know,
a little cross promotion here. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, we want to remember. You want to remember us for the meal, but you also, you know, who do you represent? You know, what manufacturers are you trying to promote? And so we did that. My girlfriend and I actually went in my kitchen. We made every single dish. Again, we did the videos and messed up many times. I won't throw her under the bus too much, but she was worse than I was. She didn't have as much practice as me.
That's great. Well, hopefully she won't listen to this. Okay.
Yeah, that's fair. And we showed them like, hey, this, and she took it over. She's like, hey, this is this produce. This is a honey nut squash. It's different than a butternut squash. It's got these flavor profiles. It's got this texture. So you could really understand more about what you were eating, but also what you're creating. So it was a healthy, sustainable meal, but also at the same time, it was an experience that you and your family, your significant other, could do together. And I drove around East Bay, North Bay, San Francisco, the Peninsula, South Bay to about 85 people and hand delivered them their box of what they chose. And then we created this YouTube video and put it together. And we had manufacturer Thomas Johnson was one of them. And we had them do a drink recommendation. Like, okay, if you're going to have the herb, potato, and roasted veggie medley, what would be a good pairing with that? And Thomas said, I would recommend this as a non-alcoholic, and I would recommend this as an alcoholic beverage pair. So we got to bring our manufacturers in. We got to show our manufacturers in the box creation, and we got to deliver a package that was more. It was more intimate. I like using that word. It was more real. We actually got to bring it. We didn't have it delivered by a third party. We didn't outsource any of the materials. It was all from us. And I think people really appreciated that. They liked it. It was different. It tasted great too. Yeah, that's always got a perk, but it was unique, and hopefully we'll be able to do it again and maybe create some different dishes.
So I love it. It is by far one of the most creative ideas that I've heard about ways to reach the design community, again, who's an important influencer in our industry. And giving you, honestly, this is what I would call the pinnacle of relationship marketing. And this is a really great idea of a way to start building a relationship with someone, because it was very personal. You delivered it. You didn't stop at their door and give them a sales pitch when they opened the door. You just left the box for them, but they got some connection to you. They got to see you on video. They got to see a little bit of your products. You now have the opportunity to follow back up with them in a variety of different ways. But this one idea keeps you top of mind, and it helps you continuously stand out. And those are two really, really important parts, because when they're starting to look for furniture, the goal is that they pick up the phone and they call you and they're like, hey, Christian, I've got a space that I'm providing and that I'm about to furnish. I need some pieces. Can you help me pick out some pieces for this project? That's the goal, correct?
Yes, exactly.
And I love it. I think it is by far one of the most creative things I've heard at all. And so what I would encourage anybody listening, and to you and any other independent rep, dealer, whatever your job is, and you're trying to reach this community or other types of communities like this, is brainstorm ideas and literally don't discount any idea. Just put all the ideas up on a wall or a whiteboard or sticky notes or whatever, and come up with an idea and just brainstorm them, and then come up with the ones from that list that work best for you at that moment, because it's creativity that's going to help us stand out and be remembered. That's going to help us build relationships with design community and other communities in a time that we can't go physically see them, where we're limited of even going into spaces. So as the world is changing around us, we have to change and adapt. And what you guys have done is great. So I hope that there's some value. Anybody listening to this, you got some ideas, and your creative uses were flowing as Christian was telling that story. Thank you so much for sharing it too.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to share it. Hopefully people will get some inspiration from it.
So we're almost out of time. So I got one more question for you, I guess. What are you working on next? Do you have something you're doing now that you can give us a little idea about what you're working on without giving away?
Yeah, sure. I don't think anybody can really create this because it's again with the farm, with my girlfriend's farm. So she has some of these berries that I've never even heard of. I thought when we were first starting to date, she's like, we grow this and this. I'm like, you're messing with me, right? That's not a real thing. So they have golden raspberries, they have tangerine raspberries, red raspberries, blackberries, boysenberries, marionberry, olaliberry, black raspberries, 3 different types of strawberries, and I'm sure I'm missing some, but
Sure.
I thought half of these were made up. I thought black raspberry was just a Jolly Rancher flavor. I did not think it was an actual fruit.
That's great.
And so what I really want to do is I want to send over, 4 or 5 baskets of berries, or half baskets of berries to designers. And hey, this is instead of a whiskey tasting or a wine tasting, it's like, hey, this is a berry tasting. This is a video that's going to say, hey, this is a Marionberry. It's a cross between an Olali berry and a blackberry. It's from Oregon. It's going to have these flavor profiles. It's going to be a little bit more tart than a blackberry, but it's going to live on more flavor than a raspberry, whatever that might be for every single berry, and then deliver it to them, because they are truly phenomenal berries. Like, they are unreal. I have them in everything as often as I can. I mean, I had strawberry margaritas last night and they were amazing. So it's something fun. It's an experience again, but it's not the wine tasting that everybody's done. It's not the let's make a cocktail together. It's a little different, and you get to try like 5 different things that are very unique that you don't get at farmers markets, that you don't get at Safeway or Costco or anything like that. No one's going to have a golden raspberry. So bringing something that's very unique, very different, kind of like a one-time experience brought to their house, that's kind of what the next thing I think I'm going to try to do.
I love how different and unique it is. And you know what you're also doing? I want you to put me on that list. Okay. Texas is a long way for you to deliver them the box there, but you are educating them on something new, and you're expanding horizons. That who knew that a golden berry actually even existed, and you're exposing me to that. And then, you're educating me and giving me the opportunity. If I see it, I can know exactly what this tastes like, or maybe I go and seek it and want to use it more. So I absolutely love it. Christian, what you're doing is awesome, man. I appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing your insights of what the struggles you've had, some of the things you've done, what you're doing. So I'm excited for this, and I'd love to hear a follow-up from you about how all these things are working. And thank you for sharing it with our community very much so.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on. I hope we had a fun time. Hope we had a good people listening, and reach out if you have any questions.
So with that, what is the best way for our community to connect with you if they'd like to?
Probably my email is probably the best, christian@linkedreps.com, or you can, I don't know if I want to give my phone number.
No, don't give
somebody
your phone
calls
number.
me.
Don't give your phone number. But we
How
will
did you
drop
say that?
We'll drop the link to his email address as well as his LinkedIn profile and their Instagram page, so that you can go give them a follow. Go give them a follow, show them some love, and remember the rules, guys. If you do connect with them on LinkedIn, please reach out. And when you do hit the connect button, hit the button that says add note. Let him know that you heard him here on the Trend Report, and that's why you're connecting with him. Christian, it was my pleasure, man, to have you on. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and your story. And I hope to get to see you next month in Chicago.
Yeah, I'll be there. We'll see how it goes. It'll be interesting, but it'll be good to see you in person.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again, bud. I appreciate you.
Yeah, have a good one, Sid.